Okay, today we are going to take a look at 12G and 12H. So we're going to look at 12G in this first video, and then we'll take a look at 12H in the next video. So 12G is outliers, and there is a test called the 1.5 IQR test, and that helps determine whether or not you have an outlier. So sometimes they're really easy to tell, but other times they are not. And so we have to use this 1.5 IQR test to determine where our outliers are. So you have an upper boundary and a lower boundary, and the upper boundary is your Q3 plus 1.5 times your IQR, and your lower boundary is your Q1 minus 1.5 IQR. So I would put those in your notes so that you have those. So if you need to pause the video, and then let's just take a look at an example and determine if we have outliers. Um, so first thing I would do is enter this data set into your graphing calculator, your GDC, and run your one bar stats. And if you scroll down, just like we did with box and whisker plots, your Q1, you will notice, is 6.5, and your Q3 is 10. And those are the two things that we need to know to find our two boundaries. So let's do our lower boundary first. Our lower boundary we know is Q1 minus 1.5 IQR. Our inner quartile range is our IQR, which is Q3 minus Q1. And so we have 10 minus 6.5. And so our IQR is 3.5. So we'll need to know that. So when we plug this in, we have 6.5 minus 1.5 times 3.5. And we end up with 1.25. So there's our lower bound. And then we have our upper bound, and that is Q3 plus 1.5 IQR. So our outliers are going to be either below our Q1 or above our Q3, which is why we have these formulas. So we have 10 plus 1.5 times 3.5, and that gives us 15.25. So these are our boundaries, and that means that anything lower than 1.25 or higher than 15.25 are going to be considered outliers. So when we look at our data, we have to look and see if any of that happens. And so notice we have a 1, and 1 is lower than 1.25, so that's an outlier. And 16 is bigger than 15.25, so that also is an outlier. So our outliers in this problem, we would say, are 1 and 16, and that would be our answer for this problem. And so that is how you use your 1.5 IQR test.